I'm an assistant football coach for the varsity football team at Sholo High School. I coach the outside linebackers, and on offense I coach the tight ends and fullbacks. I played in high school. I got home from my mission and decided to coach my little brother's Pee-wee football team. And I just figured out that I love to coach and love being around those boys and influencing them in a positive direction. I've been at the high school level for 3 years now. My first year I was coaching the freshmen in JV, and I've been with the varsity for 2 years. My favorite thing is just to be there for them. Oftentimes I've ran into them off the field, and being able to have someone in law enforcement that they can look to, that they don't have to be afraid of. Because oftentimes when some of our players have had bad experiences with law enforcement, meaning like a dad was arrested in a domestic violence issue or whatever, and so them seeing me there and seeing that I'm a normal guy, that I don't want to go out there and just arrest everybody that I see, and that I actually want to make a difference. It helps them have a positive outlook on law enforcement. I definitely see coaching football as an outlet to be able to relieve some stress and not think about the job so much, and just go out there and relax a bit. I'll be out with an abandoned vehicle, Porter Mountain Road and Penrod Junction. Charles Paul Victor.
Copy 1135.
Pretty clean.
Anybody in there?
No. That's weird. Dr. Pepper. I'm just going to put a contact sticker on there. This is a vehicle removal notification. It's parked on the roadway, very close to the white line. So I'm just gonna notify the owner they need to move it, or it'll be towed within 24 hours.
Well, I'm Corey Fechtel-Cotter. I've been working here for Sholo PD for about 11 years. Grew up in Minnesota. Came out here because my wife and I had just finished college, and she was looking for some work, and Sholo's the first place to get back to her, so we ended up out here, and I got hired about 6 months later and been doing this ever since. I had a couple jobs in college. I wasn't really interested in being a cop, but the work I had in college was security work, and I kind of figured out after doing that for a while that, like, you know, maybe I should be a police officer. I was going to school to be a social studies teacher because I'm really interested in history and all that, and still interested in all that, still like teaching. I help out at the schools a lot. I've been a school resource officer for a while, but just decided, you know, all the time I spent dealing with people with, you know, mental health issues or substance abuse issues, I felt like I kind of had a knack for talking to them and calming down tense situations, and just decided, you know, maybe I should be a cop, and that's how it happened. I've been married for, I'm going to get in trouble here. Been married since 2009, bad at math, and then we got one kid, and he's 3 years old. Oh, no. Silly siren. Well, I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like he was going at least 15 over, I think. So we'll just go take a look and see if there's any reason he was in a hurry. Hi there, how are you? Not too shabby. So do you know what the speed limit is on this road?
I just saw it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm from Phoenix. My
Gotcha.
brother's up ahead of us. We're going out camping.
Okay, right on,
So,
right on.
I thought we were meeting at Safeway. They just called, said they're about 5 minutes down.
I see. Okay.
But-
Can I get your license there?
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
So every officer does things differently, but a lot of times when I make a traffic stop, one of the first things I'll do before even checking the license through state and national databases is I'll just look and see if we've had any contact with them here in Show Low specifically. We call those our in-house files. And a lot of times if I stop someone and in our own in-house files it already shows like, hey, they were warned for a similar thing, within the past year, past 6 months, maybe even a couple days ago, probably be a lot more likely to write a ticket if they've just had a warning. Even then, it's still not a guarantee. I mean, everything depends on the circumstances. I write a lot of tickets. I don't enjoy it, but I think it's a necessary part of the job to get people to slow down. So it doesn't look like we've had any contact with this person before, and where they were speeding was kind of close to an area where the limit changes. I think I'm going to give them a warning. Again, it's all circumstantial. Very well could go the other way, but he seemed to be paying attention, just missed that speed limit change, and so we're going to give him a break today. All right, man, here's your license back.
Thank you.
So just so you know, you were going fast enough that I wouldn't have any hesitation about writing a ticket for as fast as you were going. I'm not going to do it just because it was kind of close to where the speed limit changes. I got to ask, you look super familiar. Do you have relatives that live up here? Or?
Not me. Her grandma does.
Okay,
A lot of
gotcha.
not to be worried about. A lot of people say I look like the Combs, the country music singer.
Okay, I'm not a big country guy, so...
I don't know.
All right.
That's just me.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know there's a sheriff's deputy that I thought like, man, maybe they're like cousins or something, but
Nothing down here.
all right.
Just in Phoenix.
Okay, well just be careful, all right?
Sorry about that. Thank
No worries. Thank you.
When a residence that the city thinks they've removed the meter for a long period of time, it could be a significant amount of money, whatever you pay for your water bill. It could be hundreds, thousands of gallons, because it could be days, weeks, months before they come to a property and see that there's some kind of shenanigans with the
tampering
with the meters and stuff like that. So for them, it's a significant issue. Fortunately, in this instance, apparently a city employee was out here a couple weeks ago, didn't see the meter in place, and then it sounds like yesterday they put this in. Okay.
What they did is they set this meter.
So what, did we even have a meter in there?
Nope.
Because it was an empty lot, right?
It was an empty lot.
Okay.
What they did is, see how this reads all nines?
Yeah, okay.
They put it in backwards so we couldn't tell how much water they got.
Okay.
And that is our meter.
And you just put that in?
We just put that in today.
The one on the left?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys found this in when you got here?
Right. So they were taking water, basically.
Okay. So who? These gentlemen here? Or
I
do we
don't know
know?
But we got the meter out of there. I don't know if they can trace that meter down or...
Do we know who owns the property here? Or? Okay. So have we talked to these gentlemen at all?
No, I have not.
Okay. What, you know about the property? When did this sell, or when did this?
Don't know, but he was here 2 weeks ago, and he can tell you this part. He was here 2 weeks ago, and there was not a meter in this. When he returned to put this meter in, this meter was here.
Okay. Who put this? What time did they find this meter?
What time was it?
It was probably 10 o'clock, somewhere in there.
About 10 a.m.
10, 11, yeah, somewhere in there.
And he does have a picture of it, and it was facing the wrong way, which would cause it not to read.
Okay. You came here to put the new one in.
Yep.
Okay.
Nothing in it.
That was the 2 weeks ago thing you're talking about.
Right around
Roughly 2 weeks ago.
there. They didn't even have a service line to the property.
I was just going to say, because they mentioned that Ellsworth, and I've known Ellsworth built my first house. I've known Ellsworth forever.
How long has he
Like
built
that.
your house for you?
Oh, he built my place over at back like '96. It was right over by high school. That little street over there, Sixth Ave,
Back then,
back in the day.
I was already gone by then. I worked for him in it was like the early 90s.
Oh, okay. I got up here in '95, and so '96, '97 is when he built that place and everything. So,
Right. Well, the
yeah, this is Officer Kohler.
Hey, like I said, you can talk to the city. You have that city official there. Is that who you have? And then you have the contractor.
I got Mark here and Rick Austin
Okay. and-
from Public Works.
Part of the conversation. There was never no intent to take any water. When we put that stuff in, if we don't put the water meter in exactly where the city wants it, because we have a meter nipple that comes in from our side and then their meter, which is stationary, we have to go and pick the thing back up. We had to get that all covered up as fast as we had open the kitchen. That's why we did it.
12 code 4, thank you. Okay, crisis averted. So if it was used for water, it wasn't used for very much. What the heck? Oh, we're getting an emergency message. It's an emergency call from the medics. Hold on a second. David 12.
David 12.
Reference the emergency call from medic 3. Are they code 4 in quarters or on a call?
So they're technically out of service. We're making contact by 21.
10-4, thank you. So this screen, what it does is, if I hit on my person, if there's an emergency button on my computer, it lights up and makes that weird noise and tells everybody with the computer, with all the MDT systems, that somebody's put out an emergency call. Fortunately, to date, they've all been somebody pushing a button by mistake or whatever. EMS, in this case it's a medic unit, and the fire department have the computers. They don't use it for as much as we do, and sometimes they can bump it, hit a button. The previous model computer actually had a kind of a raised surface around that particular button that you use, so you had to really work at it to hit it. These computers don't. You can just simply brush it and set it off. So I presume this is what's going on with the message. We have them available. We have a system on our person that can do it too. Sometimes people bump it. I've done it, and when I bumped it, I got a radio right away and cleared it, let everybody know I was fine, but it still happens sometimes.
For a small department, Show Low PD has a lot of opportunities that other small departments don't have. In the 11 years I've been here, I've been able to do a bunch of different things. Detective, school resource officer, I'm a negotiator for the special response team, I'm a firearms instructor. I don't know that other departments this size, you would be able to do all those different things. And certainly at a bigger department, a lot of times there's an expectation that you're going to stick to just one of those things for years at a time and not necessarily get to have the variety of experience like you do here at Show Low. So that's really nice. I like having a lot of different options. It's not something I would necessarily expect working at a department this small, but it's been nice that it's worked out that way.
10-4, copy first.
My coworkers are great. It's we have a lot of fun, but you know the nature of this job is you see so much unusual, goofy stuff that even if you're not having fun in the moment, you end up having a lot of fun stories for later on. It's been nice having the combined building where we see the sheriff's office a little bit more, get to interact with them a little bit more. When I was a detective, I'd actually work with them a lot. The bulk of the homicide cases I worked on were actually helping out the sheriff's office, and that was a great learning experience. Obviously, you know, it's never a good thing when someone gets killed, but as far as interesting, important work, that's one of the things that I enjoyed most about that job. And you know, working with all those sheriff's deputies in those investigative roles, really interesting stuff. And I wasn't sure that I'd have any of that coming back to patrol, but thankfully being in the same building, we still get to see each other and get to know each other. One of my extra duties is going to call-outs for the special response team, and that's being a negotiator with them is a really interesting job. Most of the time it's pretty fun. There's been a couple that weren't so fun, but one of the big things that's important with that job, and probably one of the biggest tie-ins with my past work doing security at the hospital and such, is that mental health component of it. A lot of times people that are having some sort of crisis that aren't cooperating with police, have maybe barricaded themselves somewhere. It's not usually like, oh, they're just a bad person, or oh, they're just a criminal, you know. Those things could be true, but usually one of the big issues on top of whatever else might be going on is some sort of mental health issue. And so that's something that we really have to be conscious of and keep in mind and recognize. And thankfully, when I worked at that hospital back in Minnesota, I got a lot of experience talking to people dealing with mental health issues. And typically it was when they were at their worst. It was people that ended up at the hospital because, quite frankly, the local jails wouldn't take them. They said, this person's out of control, we can't have them at the jail, so we're going to bring them to the hospital to get well. And I was the person that would sit there for sometimes hours, sometimes an entire 10-hour shift, just talking to the person, trying to keep them calm, trying to get them to stay in that hospital room without using any force, just convince them that that's where they needed to be. And I feel like that's been really helpful to me in my role, just not as a patrol officer, but especially, you know, on the crisis negotiation team. Steve Julian, the County Criminal Justice Coordinator, he's been really helpful in getting some of that crisis intervention team training, and it's been really helpful, I think, to the people in the county that have gone to it, law enforcement agencies all over, other people that work with law enforcement and mental health groups in town. I think that's been huge in just, I don't know, making our job easier, figuring out the best way to actually help people so they're not constantly getting in trouble. Pull over into the next street. It's nice that he stopped for me so quick. Adam 6-3 traffic.
Adam 6-3.
60 South 8th, Massachusetts, 274. Hi there, how are you? Good. So I'm assuming you probably don't know, but the speed limit there is 45 or 35. You were probably thinking it was 45 from back before the light. So.
Yeah, I was going with the flow of traffic. I thought I was in the
Gotcha.
lane.
So anyway, if I could just get your license, not planning on writing you a ticket or anything, but
No, it's fine. I thought it was because of the canoe was falling off or something.
oh, nope, nothing that interesting. All right, we'll just make sure there's no issues with this and get you back on your way with a warning, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Yep. So we use the computer for as much stuff as we can to stay off the air. That way, if someone else has something urgent going on, we're not blocking the radio when they're trying to say something important. But a lot of times with out-of-state licenses, it's really cumbersome to do over the computer. I've never really been able to learn how to do it myself effectively, and I've been an officer for over a decade. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but it's just easier to do that over the radio. So this is one of those situations where, you know, with an out-of-state license, I like to do it over the air. Other times that we might do it over the radio would be, let's say we're just getting a bad vibe about the person, think that they might be up to something, and we don't want to get back in the car, you know, then we'll check them for warrants over our portable radio and stuff. So he was speeding. We have a lot of problems with speed right in front of Northland Pioneer College. It's not so much in front of the college itself, but the intersection of Deuce of Clubs and Whipple right before it. We've had some fairly nasty collisions there. Speed isn't necessarily the cause of the collision, but obviously any collision, speed is going to make it worse. And so even though the speed changes at the intersection before that by Clark Road, we try to run a lot of traffic there to get people to slow down. So if there are collisions in that area, they're hopefully at least not as serious, and maybe hopefully avoid the collisions entirely. So I'm going to give this guy a warning and get him back on his way. All right, thanks for being patient.
Oh, thanks for your
Yeah.
curiosity.
So are you canoeing here in town then, or?
I'm from Massachusetts, obviously.
Yeah.
I retired about 30 days ago. And
Oh,
I've been
wow.
for about 25, so I went across Canada, down through the Upper
Wow.
Peninsula to Washington. I'm headed to either Santa Fe or Albuquerque probably tonight. So,
Oh, wow. Yeah, so you still got a ways to go then.
well, I turned the corner in Arizona. I just was at Arizona State University. My friend of 40 years out of college is the quarterbacks coach there. So
Oh, cool.
and into Minnesota across the Mississippi. I went to where it was made.
Uh-huh.
So they took me on a tour and
Yeah.
they showed me the whole factory and everything. And it was
Yeah.
really cool.
No, and that's a cool town too. I remember when we were growing up when the ice would break, when everything would start warming up in the spring, all the eagles would migrate back and they'd just be hanging out on the ice chunks. Wow.
That's the factory, and that's where this one was actually made. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. Well, if you ever come back through Fool Hollow Lake State Park, that's the popular spot around here. So
Well, I see all the bugs right now. I'm a fly fisherman. You can see them hatching, kind of thing. But I might try to fish in New Mexico, something
Well,
like that.
good luck.
Yeah.
Hope
Hey,
it goes
thanks.
well for you.
Very nice talking to you.
Yep,
Thanks.
likewise. He was saying that he just retired, I guess. I don't know how much you catch through your headphones there, but he was saying that he retired recently. It was just doing this cross-country trip, going everywhere, even Canada, and was passing through town on his way to New Mexico and started talking about canoes, wanted to show me his pictures from the canoe factory that he stopped at, and yeah, he just meets some interesting people like that sometimes, and it's one of the things I love about this job is just all the characters you meet, and sometimes it's fun because they're super friendly like him, and sometimes it's fun because they're not friendly and you get a really interesting story out of it for later on.
We are going to a report of a burglary. It's reported as a break-in. He said that there's a lot of stuff missing. I don't know what yet because we haven't talked to him. He doesn't know who did it, but he wants to make a report. So that's where we're going. Take some pictures and see if we can find any evidence and see if we can give the guy some justice. $1602. Go and show me on scene, please. Which one?
Navajo 5.
Which one? That's the one.
I'll be out to you. Have a good evening.
Have a good day, sir. Thanks.
So they don't normally lock their garage door that goes into the house. It was locked when she came home. Their bedroom door was open. They always close it because they have cats. But they weren't going to call us because they couldn't find anything missing. So when the husband went into the master bedroom, into the closet to change his clothes after work, he noticed that a change jar was empty. And he said it was over halfway full, and it was a pretty good sized change jar. They also found the back door unlocked, which is always locked. So, weird, obviously. So I went walking around the house with them. On the window right next to the back door, there was a small hole in the screen, in the plastic tab that you lift the screen up with. So that was determined to be the point of entry that the suspect went into. And then they left through the back door because the back door was the only one unlocked, because obviously they unlocked it. But they didn't take a lot. All they did was take the jar of change, which is weird because they have all kinds of stuff in there. They got several iPads, tablets, stuff like that, Fitbits, all kinds of stuff of value that was not taken. The only thing that was taken was a jar of change. So someone just trying to make a quick buck, I guess. So we tried to take prints off of that jar. So when the husband handed it to me, or showed it to me. It was in the closet. So he stuck his hand in the jar and extended his hand so he wouldn't touch the outside, which is good. Which we like people to do that. We were unsuccessful in getting any prints off of it, unfortunately. To get prints, the conditions have to be just right. But the weird thing is there was nothing on the outside of the jar. There's a couple smudges, that's it. So that leads me to believe that they actually wiped that jar off after they took the change out of it, because there wasn't anything on it. Unfortunately, we didn't get any evidence as far as the prints or anything like that. I did take photos of all the damage and the residents and everything like that. So I went ahead and issued them victims' rights for burglary in the second degree, which is a felony, and criminal damage. So they both filled out witness statements for me, and I gave them a property loss report for all the expenses for the damages and all the stolen property that was taken. So they're going to add that up and give me that total back, so I can put that in the report.